Expect More Tehama was really born through community conversations. We spent 4 or 5 years just having conversations with just different community members, coming alongside organizations that sort of met some of the goals or the values of Expect More Tehama to really help them, whether it was helping them grow their programs through marketing and communications, or supporting them with some pilot funding.
There was some funding opportunities around education, and we weren't really sure how to suggest where to spend those. And so we started asking questions. And what we found was that people were concerned that our kids weren't going on to anything beyond a high school diploma. And so we wanted to do some more research and ask questions, and we found that maybe there was not the expectation in place for them to do that.
In fact, during this same time that Expect More Tehama was born, we were really exploring what does economic vitality look like for Tehama County. So we were looking at education numbers. How many people in our community actually had college degrees? And we were stunned to learn that it was a small percent. We thought, well, gosh, we could move the economic needle if we could just, increase the number of college-educated citizens in Tehama County.
When we started off, we thought it was as simple as trying to get more students onto college campuses, to helping the educators understand what happens between middle school and high school, for example. And that was fantastic, and we were able to do a lot of those kind of fun and exciting programs. But what we've learned is it's really much more cradle to career.
Some of the key indicators that exist within this cradle to career initiative or work that we're doing. So it first asks, are the students ready by kindergarten? So there's a metric there that we look at. And then we look at the 3rd grade reading level. So again, we know that's a major indicator in terms of the long-term success or trajectory of a student.
So an expectation is a hope. And so Expect More Tehama was born with the idea that maybe as a community, we could come alongside education and help more of our students have a plan for something beyond a high school diploma.
We're also, really hoping that all of our students are actually graduating from high school. From there, we're looking at that, what we call post-secondary enrollment. Are they enrolling in some form of college or post-secondary? Are they going to, the welding program down at Butte College, or are they enrolling in Shasta College, or did they go on to a 4-year university? Then finally, we're looking at college graduation rates. And then from there, kind of the final is what's their living wage? Are they achieving a living wage? So that's really kind of that spectrum that we're focusing on. Now, Expect More Tehama can't focus on all of those. That's big, big work. And I mentioned early on, like naively, we thought it was just sort of like, let's get them, in that college, that A to G high school enrollment, get them enrolled in college, and then get them graduating.
It's really multiple layers of different kinds of education and problems that we have to work on solving to be able to get our kids to move all through that process successfully.
Expect More Tehama has been primarily a grassroots conversation. And I often tease and say, we're a look-alike nonprofit. Sometimes we act like a nonprofit when we receive funding or when we're supporting other programs. And sometimes we're just this grassroots conversation that gets invited to the table. What I'm really excited about is as we move into a little bit more of a formal organization, that we will be able to actually receive grant funding and to be able to help support some of the programs that are in place.
We are a small county, but we think we're a big county, and we're very well connected with each other. So for me, it's relationships. And so I thought I knew a lot of people before I was involved with Expect More Tehama, and it really just exploded after we got started. We met people in education, in business, in service, in the faith-based community, all over the county.
For example, being able to really apply collective impact work in Tehama County. And collective impact work is still sort of one of those fuzzy words, but it's really about being able to professionally facilitate conversations, bringing all of those people together into the room who are already doing the work and helping maybe synchronize that work, maybe helping people look at the way that they're doing work a little bit differently, and then being able to provide some of those resources to move that work forward.
Yeah, from the very beginning, really, when you want to support students, there's nobody that doesn't want to do that. Whether it's their own students or their grandchildren, their children, the neighbors, everybody wants to hear more about what could we possibly do in my personal role, to help with that. I also work in workforce development, and so we have the business community, and they're looking for a positive workforce, and there's a lot that business owners can do to help young people. There's a lot of pluses to living in a rural area, but there's also some definite challenges. And I don't think living in a rural area is for those without the stomach for it, you know? So we have to be able to be resilient and have the grit needed to overcome obstacles. And so for us, there's a lot of some very basic. There's a high number of children living in lower socioeconomic situations.
So some of the biggest challenges that we have for access to education is awareness of the opportunities. I think rural areas, as we've learned from communicating with the other counties and other like counties across the country, transportation's a real barrier. You know, living in a community that doesn't have a four-year college, or you know, we have a Shasta College presence, but not necessarily the full offerings for, you know, an AA or a full trade degree right here in our community.
So Expect More Tehama participates sort of as core members of North State Together, which is housed at Shasta College in Reading. And each one of us has a coordinator, and we have a collaborative team, and we work on issues within our county. But as a region, the 5 counties can also come together and look at common measurements.
I think perhaps the single most effective thing for Expect More Tehama has been the relationships. I say that through the context of when we first started having conversations back in 2009, it was challenging to have a conversation around data, especially when we were looking at data specifically between, say, high schools or, you know, high school dropout rates, where there was sort of maybe that tinge of blame or like we were pointing fingers. So if we can collectively share some of the data, if we can collectively share some of the best practices or the resources that exist within all of the counties, then we are all, you know, really stronger together. And North State Together offers that central hub for us all to sort of tap into. So North State Together has been really, really great at being that backbone organization for the different counties, specifically for us within Expect More Tehama. They're kind of that team we get to lean on for help. Again, I think we lean on them a lot for data, but as we look into the future, they're also really exploring other funding opportunities. They're helping us connect with other communities across the country that are doing some of this rural collaborative work. They've helped us gain partnerships with the Strive Together Network, which is a national collective impact network. We're also part of a Rural Schools Collaborative Network, where we get to ask questions of other communities. Like, this is a challenge we're having. I imagine you're having that challenge too. What's a best practice? Or can we just kind of brainstorm some ideas?
The nice thing is that there's an openness to be able to share information. What are you trying? What are you working on? What has worked for you? Can you share that? And that openness, absolutely.
In fact, as we've grown with Expect More Tehama and our partnership with North State Together, we actually have MOUs with all of the schools where we collect all of the data and we look at the data from high school graduation all the way into post-secondary enrollment. And we're sharing that data publicly and periodically.
And the better we're connected and the more we build trust, the more we're able to get things done efficiently and to sort of all move in the same direction, and that gets a lot of things done, and we're all about getting things done.
I'm really excited about the future for Expect More Tehama. As we've grown as a more cohesive collaborative, both within Tehama County, but also within our 5-county region, I'm really excited about what could be with all of the relationships, with all of the connections that have just begun here in the last few years and are only going to get greater as we really look at creating more succinct pathways within our regions and how we can share some of those best practices.
We have a little bit more space in our brain to handle these heavy conversations and look for solutions, and we have access more to national ties that are also doing great things, and that can only help us. So I'm excited. We're getting our energy back, and I think there's a lot that we can do.